Hello, dear listeners and viewers. Glad to see you again. Hope that everything is all right. Today we are going to speak about the past simple, so it's necessary to remember about irregular and regular verbs. If you didn't watch, it is lesson number 6. And speaking about different past tenses in the first table, I mentioned about the stative verbs. So if you didn't study the stative verbs together with me, it's better to return to lesson number 4 about the present continuous, and there is some information about these stative verbs. The main thing I would like to pay your attention to in this video, it is the auxiliary verb did that we use in the past simple if it's necessary to form the negative sentences and questions. If we use did, then we use the first form of the main verb, so pay special attention to this fact. And of course, and if it is the verb to be, we don't use any auxiliary verbs, the same as it was for to be in present tense. Yes, do you remember there were auxiliary verbs do and does, but to be, am, is, just participate in the negative and negative sentences and questions. The same is in the past tense. I think that we can watch. Let's start. Hello, English Basic Grammar, lesson number 8. Today we are going to speak about the past simple. First of all the past tenses with the main differences between them. Past simple, past continuous, past perfect and past perfect continuous. Past simple we usually show the actions as facts, and we use the words like yesterday, ago, last, in 1990 or any other year. For example, I did my homework yesterday. I did. It's the second form of the verb. Do, did, done. For past continuous, we show the process at a stated time. Pay attention, the preposition at 6 o'clock yesterday. For example, I was doing my homework at 6 o'clock yesterday. Was doing, the verb to be, plus ing form of the verb. For past perfect, we usually show results, result by the stated time. So this time the preposition is by 6 o'clock yesterday, or by the time mother came. I had done my homework by 4 o'clock yesterday. Had and the third form of the verb. And for past perfect continuous, the duration, I hope you remember the duration, the prepositions since and for, by the stated time. The example, by 4 o'clock yesterday, I had been doing my homework for 2 hours. By 4 o'clock yesterday, for 2 hours, the duration, and by the stated time. I hope you remember about the stative verbs for past continuous and past perfect continuous. Okay, now the past simple and its structure. For all the pronouns, we use the second form of the verb if it is a regular verb, or ed if it is a regular verb. For example, he went to the park yesterday. Go, went, gone, the second form of the verb. For negative sentences and yes-no questions or other questions, we use the auxiliary verb did, but pay attention, with the verb did we use the first form of the main verb. He didn't go to the park yesterday. Didn't go. The question, did he go to the park yesterday? And as the question starts with did, we can see this auxiliary verb in short answers. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. So note, we use the second form of the verb only for the affirmative sentences. Well, so when do we use the past simple? We use the past simple with the markers, we call them the markers, with the words like yesterday, 2 days ago, last week, last month, last year, last century. In any year, for example, in 1980, they visited a museum last week. Visited. It's a regular verb with ed. For actions that happened one after another in the past, the example, it can make it a little bit clear for you. She came home, went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and made some sandwiches. Came, went, opened, and made. All these actions come one after another. And one more situation for habits which are now finished, and for the stative verbs. Two examples. He worked as a doctor when he was younger, so now he is not a doctor. And sorry, I didn't hear it. The verb to be. Do you remember the verb to be? We studied it to be for the present tense. So it's a good idea now to think how it changes in the past tense. In the singular for I, he, she, it is was, and in the plural for we, you, they, it is were. Examples. She was at the cinema, they were at the cinema. For example, yesterday. In negative sentences, wasn't or weren't. I wasn't in the park, we weren't in the park. In questions, was and were start the questions. Was she at the cinema? Were you in the park? And was were in short answers. Time for checking. Today it's a little bit different. It's necessary to write these affirmative sentences in their negative forms and ask yes-no questions or other questions if you know how to do it. He bought a new car last week. It's necessary to say that he didn't do that, to ask did he do that, and to answer. And maybe you can ask other questions like when, where, why. 3 sentences. He bought a new car last week. Bought, it's irregular verb. The boys played football yesterday. Played, it is regular verb. And they were glad to do the task. Were, it is to be. Pause the video. Take as much time as you need. And I think that it's better to write your answers in your exercise book, for example. Let's check. He bought a new car last week. Negative sentence. He didn't buy, didn't, and the first form of the verb. He didn't buy a new car last week. Question. Did he buy a new car last week? Yes, he did. No, he didn't. And you can ask, when did he buy a new car? Something like a prompt. To ask the questions like when, where, why, it's necessary to put these words when, where, why in front of the yes-no question. Once more, pay attention. Did he buy a new car? When did he buy a new car? The boys played football yesterday. The boys didn't play. Pay attention, not played, play. Did the boys play football yesterday? Where did the boys play football yesterday? And the verb to be. They were glad to do the task. They weren't glad to do the task. Were they glad to do it? Why were they glad to do the task? So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Bye. See you next lesson. Next lesson is going to be about the past continuous.